The zip tie had already left a pale ring around Selah Bekele's wrist when the holding cell door opened and a man she had never been introduced to walked in holding a marriage form with the pen already uncapped. The fluorescent strip above her buzzed like a dying fly. The air smelled of bleach and wet concrete. Officer Nam stood with his back to the glass, as if looking at her would make him responsible. The man with the form had black hair, a sharp jaw, and a pale scar cutting through his left eyebrow. He wore a black coat that did not belong in an immigration basement on Jeju. He set the paper on the metal table. The pen clicked once against the form and stayed there, ready. Selah did not take it. She looked at the form. Korean marriage registration. Her name already printed in English and Hangul. His name beside it. Dates, stamps waiting. The ink on the pen was wet. "You have never been introduced to me," she said. "Why would a man like you walk into an immigration cell with a marriage form for a woman he has never been introduced to?" He did not answer that. Officer Nam cleared his throat. "Ms. Bekele, this gentleman is offering a solution. You should listen." Selah looked at the officer first. "I have a work visa. I have a contract. I tuned a piano. That is the whole crime." The man with the scar did not sit. He spoke like a person who paid for every word. "If you walk out of this building unmarried, you die before the airport. The Yu clan owns the tarmac." Selah's laugh came out dry. "I don't know who you are." "Baek Yoon-ho." "That doesn't help me." "It will." Officer Nam shifted his weight. Keys chimed against his belt. Somewhere down the corridor, a printer spat paper and kept spitting. Selah kept her hands in her lap. The zip tie marks were pink now, turning the color of old rubber bands. She had been in the cell for 6 hours. No lawyer, no embassy call that went anywhere. Her toolkit was in a plastic bag on Nam's desk, tagged like a weapon. Yoon-ho sat on the floor. Not in the chair. On the floor, with his back against the painted block wall, coat still on, as if the holding cell were a waiting room he had booked himself. "Take the night," he said. "The plane they put you on leaves at dawn. Dawn is not a metaphor." Selah stared at him. He closed his eyes. She did not sign. Not then. 3 days earlier, the sea around Jeju was the color of hammered tin, and Selah Bekele stood on the open deck of a private ferry with her toolkit between her boots and salt drying on her mouth. She was 31, Ethiopian-American, born in Addis Ababa, raised from age 9 in Silver Spring, Maryland, by her aunt Tigist Bekele, who believed coffee was a sacrament and lateness was a sin. Selah had calloused fingertips and a low working bun that did not care about wind. She was a concert piano technician, not a performer. She had been in Korea 14 months, based in Busan, contracted through a Japanese-Korean piano house that sent her where Hamburg Steinways went to live, among people who could afford them. The ferry cut a white line toward a private island. No public dock, no tour boats. A black house sat on the cliff like a lid on a box. A crewman, in a gray jacket, approached with a clipboard. "Bake Cliff House. Charity recital tomorrow night. You are the tuner." "I'm the technician," Selah said. "If the program says tuner, that's fine. I still need 3 hours alone with the instrument before anyone in a gown breathes on it." He smiled the way staff smile when they have been told not to argue. "Mr. Baekwan requested you specifically. Hamburg Steinway D. It arrived last month from the mainland." Selah filed the name, Baekwan. Uncle, if the shipping papers she had skimmed were right. She did not ask about family. She asked about humidity. "What's the hull sitting at?" The crewman blinked. "I don't." "Temperature. Humidity. If you don't know, find the person who runs the climate. A Steinway D in a cliff house will fight the salt. I need numbers, not architecture." He went to find numbers. Selah watched the island grow. Cypress, stone, a staircase cut into rock that would ruin heels. She thought of Tigist in Silver Spring, standing in a kitchen that always smelled of roasted beans, saying, "You go where the work is. You do not go where the men are. You come home if the work starts asking you to be someone else." Selah had not gone home. The work in Busan paid. the work was clean. Pianos did not lie if you knew how to listen. A man in a dark suit waited on the private pier, younger than the uncle, late 20s, maybe 30, polished. He had the kind of face that remembered names for a living. Han Jae-min, he said, and bowed just enough. I coordinate for Beck Maritime. I'll take you up. His shoes were new, black leather, thin soles, already dusted with something pale. Selah noticed because she noticed floors. Floors told you what a house did to instruments. Marble? She asked, nodding at his toes. Jae-min glanced down, then laughed once. The foyer. We had it polished this morning for the guests. Careful when you come through tonight. It's slick. I'm not coming through tonight as a guest. I'm coming through as a worker. Of course. The climb was switchbacks and wind. The house at the top was glass and black timber. Inside, the foyer was a lake of white marble. Selah's boots made no sound she liked. Sound died on that stone the way moths die on a lamp. Jae-min led her through a corridor lined with photographs of ships. Beck Maritime. Container lines. A portrait of an older man with a thick neck and a smile that did not reach his eyes. Beck Hwan, the plaque said. Chairman, acting. Next to it, a younger man at a piano, captured mid-phrase, head down. No plaque. The glass over the photo was cleaner than the others. Selah stopped without meaning to. The hands in the picture were on a keyboard she could not see clearly, but the wrists had a tired angle she had seen once in a Seoul hotel lobby at midnight, when a stranger sat down at a banquet Steinway and played as if the room had already emptied. She had never gotten that man's name. She had never seen his face straight on. The photograph was not proof. It was a hitch in her breath. She put it away the way she put away wolf tones she had not yet been hired to fix. Jae-min waited 2 steps ahead, polite, watching her look. Family, he said. We don't label all of them. I wasn't asking. Good. His new shoes left pale prints on the runner. Marble dust, fine as flour. The hall is this way. The recital hall opened like a throat. Empty seats. 200, maybe more. A Hamburg Steinway D on a low riser, lid propped, fallboard down. Morning light came through a seaward wall of glass and laid a hard rectangle on the floor. The instrument sat just outside that rectangle, which told her someone in this house understood sun damage or had been taught to pretend they did. I need the hall empty, Selah said. No staff? No, just checking. 3 hours. If anyone has to walk through, they walk behind the last row, not across the stage. Jae-min hesitated. Uncle Hwan likes to. Then Uncle Hwan can like a piano that sounds like a boat. I'll be here. You can tell him I said that politely. Jae-min's mouth twitched. I'll keep him out. He left. His shoes clicked on marble, then went quiet on the runner. Selah stood still until the hall finished settling. Buildings talk after people leave. This one ticked. Salt in the joints. Glass expanding. Somewhere a generator hummed under the floor. She opened her toolkit on a felt cloth. Never on the marble. Never on the bench. Technicians did not sit on benches they had not checked. Humidity lives in wood. A closed bench in a cliff house could be a swamp in a box. She checked the bench first. Lid. Interior. Hygrometer. The wood was dry enough. No surprises. She still did not sit. She opened the fallboard. The keys were clean. Too clean. Someone had wiped them with a product that left a film. She frowned, took a cloth, and took the film off. Then she sat on her own folding stool, the one she carried because houses always offered the wrong chair, and she played a chromatic scale the way a doctor presses a stomach. Not music. Inquiry. The Steinway answered well through the bass. Mid-range had that Hamburg clarity, the kind that makes a room feel taller. Then she hit A4. The note had a wolf. Not a tuning wolf. A wire wolf. A hair-thin extra voice, sitting on the pitch, like a second person humming through a wall. Selah stopped. She played A4 again. Same smear. A metallic thread inside the tone. Almost pretty if you did not know better. She had known better since she was small. Her father had been a church organist in Addis Ababa. Before she could read music, he would put her hand on a pipe and say, in Amharic. Then in the English he used when he wanted her to keep a word, hear the bad string. The room will try to hide it. You do not let the room win. She lifted the fallboard fully and went in with a light. Capo bar, strings, agrafes, everything where it should be. Then she saw it. A hair-thin wire, copper where it caught the light, running from the capo bar down into the gap behind the fallboard, like a vein someone had installed in the wrong body. Selah exhaled through her nose. She followed it. The wire ended in a transmitter no bigger than a thumbnail, taped inside the fallboard with museum putty, the kind that does not stain if you are lucky. A tiny board, a tiny antenna. Live, if the warmth against her knuckle meant anything. She sat back on her heels. A technician's job was the instrument, not the house, not the guests, not the reason a private island needed a charity that required 200 chairs and a Steinway that had been turned into a radio. The wolf tone on A4 would bloom in a hall this live. During a loud passage it might vanish. During a thin one it would sit in the air like a stain. Whoever had put it there either did not care about the piano or needed the piano to carry something besides music. Selah pulled the wire. She peeled the transmitter. She wound the copper into a tight coil, dropped both into a small tin in her toolkit, the tin she used for broken agraf screws and other things that should not roll, and she closed the lid. She did not call security. She was a tuner. She fixed sound. A door at the back of the hall eased open. A housekeeper with a stack of programs saw the open piano, saw Selah on her heels with a light, and froze. I'll come later, the woman said. Come now if you have to, Selah said. Stay off the riser. Don't set paper on the lid. The housekeeper nodded, laid programs on the last row only, and left the door wider than it had been. Salt air slid in. Selah waited until the latch clicked again. Then she went back into the action with her felt mute, and made A4 tell the truth. Twice, then a third time, because a hall this live liked to lie on the repeat. She spent the next 2 hours making the Steinway honest. Unisons, stretch, pedal. She played octaves, until the hall's glass stopped arguing. When she was done, A4 was a single voice. The instrument had a Hamburg spine, and a Jeju humidity problem she had mitigated, not cured. She wrote the humidity numbers in her log. She wrote, foreign conductor removed from capo, /fallboard. Wolf on A4 resolved. She did not write transmitter. She wrote conductor, because that was what it was, and because logs get read by people who like words like theft. She packed. The tin went in the bottom of the kit, under felt, under mutes, under the tuning hammer she had owned since Silver Spring. On the way out, she passed the foyer. Jae-min was speaking to 2 men in black. One of them had a radio. The other looked at Selah's toolkit, the way people look at luggage in airports. All good? Jae-min asked. The piano will play, Selah said. Keep the lid from slamming. Keep drinks off the rim. If anyone puts a phone on the music desk, I will come back and be less polite. He smiled. Guests arrive at 7. Recital at 8. You'll stay in the service wing until curtain. Mr. Baekwan wants the technician available, if a string goes. Strings don't go because a chairman wants a technician in a closet. I'll be in the hall for the last hour before. After that, I can hear from the wings. As you like. She did not like. She liked work that ended when the instrument was true. The service wing had a narrow room with a window that faced the cliff and a bed that smelled of laundry soap. Selah washed her hands. The calluses along her fingertips were darker than the rest of her skin. A map of years. Deep brown, high cheekbones in the mirror. Eyes that Tigist said were her father's, which was Tigist's way of saying, do not waste them. She ate rice and soup from a tray. She thought about calling Tigist and did not, because Tigist would hear the island in her voice,
and start a sermon about rich men and empty halls. At 6, she walked the hall again. Staff relaying programs on seats. White flowers. A banner in Korean she could read well enough. A children's medical fund. A number with too many zeros. The Beck and U names sharing a line like a merger. A woman in a fitting room of a dress stood near the stage with a man holding pins. Yu Hana. Selah knew the name from the program. Daughter of the Yu shipping clan. Jeju. Arranged match, if the Busan warehouse gossip was even half true. Hana was beautiful, the way a blade is beautiful. Precise. Hair like a black sheet of water. When she turned, her gaze went through Selah, and filed her under furniture. You're the tuner, Hana said, in English that had been paid for. Technician. Hana's smile was small. Don't hover during the performance. My mother used to say, technicians make the air nervous. Your mother never had to pull a bad string in a wet hall. Hana's eyes cooled. This hall is not wet. This hall is baguette. She walked away. The pin man hurried after her. Selah went to the wings. Guests arrived in a rustle of silk and shipping money. She heard them before she saw them. Perfume. Shoe leather. The marble foyer turning footsteps into announcements. A diamond caught the light on a woman's throat in the third row. Then another. Then so many that the hall looked briefly like a harbor at night. Baek Hwan entered from the seaward door as if the glass had been built to open for him. Thick neck. That smile from the photograph. The one that did not reach his eyes.
He shook hands without looking at hands. When he laughed, the laugh arrived late, like a staff member who had missed a cue. Selah, from the wings, saw him scan the room and land on the piano with something that was not love. Ownership, maybe. Or hunger wearing a better coat. A younger man came in last and did not work the room. Black hair, sharp jaw, pale scar through the left eyebrow. He took a seat in the back row, aisle, coat still on, as if he might leave before the encore. No one introduced him to the technician. No one introduced him to anyone near Selah. People glanced and then found other places to look. Selah filed the scar. She filed the quiet. She went back to listening to the room's humidity and the Steinway's lid stick, which had a faint creak she had already marked for later. The house lights dropped. A pianist in black sat. Not a Beck, a hired name from Seoul, competent, a little stiff in the shoulders. The first piece was safe Mozart. The hall liked it. Selah listened for A4 whenever it passed. Clean. Her shoulders dropped a fraction. Second piece, Chopin, more blood, still clean. During the pause, Hana walked to a seat in the front, as if the pause had been scheduled for her arrival. White dress, a stone at her throat the size of a thumbnail, blue-white, old money. People clapped for the dress. Hana accepted it like weather. The last piece on the program was listed as a transcription. A Korean melody, dressed in concert clothes. Selah did not know the arranger. The first notes lifted, thin, and A4 sat in the middle of a phrase like a held breath. Still clean. Then Hana stood up and screamed. It was not a musical scream. It was a social one, pitched for 200 witnesses. My mother's diamond, the Beck Yu stone. It's gone. The pianist stopped with his hands in the air. Lights slammed up. Security moved as if they had been waiting for a cue that was not in the program. 2 men to the stage, 2 to the doors. Jae-min appeared at Selah's elbow with a face that had practiced concern. Don't leave the wings, he said. I wasn't leaving. Hana was already pointing, not at a guest, at the wings, at Selah. The technician was alone with the instrument all day. Search her things. A murmur went through the seats like wind through dry grass. Selah stepped forward because hiding would look like guilt, and guilt in a room like this was a kind of currency. I tuned a piano. I didn't touch anyone's jewelry. Hana's voice carried. Then you won't mind if we look. They dumped Selah's toolkit on the marble at the edge of the foyer, where the runner ended and the stone began. Felts,
Mutes. Tuning hammer. The small tin. It popped open. The hair-thin wire uncoiled like a question. The thumbnail transmitter clicked against marble. Hana's laugh was bright. A theft tool. She brought a theft tool into my family's hall. It's a conductor, Selah said. It was in the piano. I pulled it because it ruined A4. You pulled it and hid it, Hana said. That's not repair. That's removal of evidence. Baekwan lifted a hand. The room obeyed the hand. Search her. Now. In front of the guests, so no one says we were unfair. They searched her in the foyer, in front of 200 people. Hands at her waist. Hands at her ankles. A woman from security, who at least looked unhappy about it. Selah stared at a point on the far wall, where a crack in the plaster had been painted over, and still showed. Her bun stayed in. Her face stayed still. Someone in the third row lifted a phone. Someone else told them to put it down, and did not wait to see if they did. No diamond. They opened her bag. Passport. Visa. Contract from the Japanese-Korean house. A photograph of Tegest on the fridge in Silver Spring, folded once, because Selah was a person who still carried paper. Hana held the visa up between 2 fingers. This says technician. It does not say she may attend a private family event, illegal work, and theft. I have authorization for this site, Selah said. Your coordinator signed me onto the island. Jaemin looked at Hwan. Hwan did not look back. Call immigration, Hwan said. Jeju office. Tonight. I will not have a foreign thief in my house while we host the Yu family. The word foreign landed with a weight it always carried. Selah said, There is no diamond in my kit, because I did not take a diamond. Hwana touched her own bare throat. Then where is my mother's stone? The betrothal stone. You are the only stranger left alone with the room. The hired pianist had not moved. His hands were still above the keys, shaking now. From the back row, the man with the scar had stood. He did not come forward. He watched. The scar made his left eye look permanently half awake, as if a blade had tried to close it and failed. A van arrived faster than a van should arrive on a private island. Officer Nam came in with 2 others. He had the face of a man who hated night calls and loved procedure. He looked at Hwan, then at Hana, then at Selah last. Allegation is theft and unauthorized labor, Nam said. We'll take her to Jeju holding. You can send statements. I have a visa, Selah said. Nam glanced at it. We'll verify in the morning. Verify now. Hwan smiled that late smile. In the morning, officer. The guests are distressed. We will not keep them in a crime scene.
They zip-tied her wrists in front because Nam muttered something about policy and women and cameras. The plastic bit. The foyer lights were too bright. Marble dust clung to the knees of Jaemin's trousers, where he had knelt to gather her scattered felts, with a helpfulness that felt like theater. They put her toolkit in a bag. The wire went with it. The van smelled of vinyl, and someone else's fear. The island road switched back down toward the water. Selah watched the black house shrink in the rear window until it was just a lid on a box again. She did not cry. Tegest had not raised her to cry in vehicles owned by the state. At the holding cell, fluorescent light, bleach, wet concrete. Nam took the zip tie off after the paperwork and left the pale ring. He said the embassy would be notified. He said the piano house would be notified. He said a lot of things that were the shape of help without the heat of it. Hours went. A printer. A cough. A woman in another cell, asking for a phone, in a language Selah did not have. Then the door opened. Baek Yoon-ho. Marriage form. Marriage form. Pen already uncapped. You know that part. What you do not know yet is what he said, after he sat on the floor and waited, and what she heard in it that was not romance. He waited until Officer Nam left them with the glass and the buzzing strip. The wire was live, Yoon-ho said.
His voice did not rise. Someone in that room was supposed to die during the last piece. You pulled the conductor. You saved a life. They framed you for it. Selah's mouth was dry. Who was supposed to die? He looked at her. The scar. The quiet. I am not going to answer that in a room. Nam records. Then why marriage? Because a married woman on a Beck registration does not get put on a plane the U family can open like a crate. Unmarried. You are a problem they can export. Exported. You do not reach Incheon. You do not reach anywhere. Selah rubbed the mark on her wrist. You could post bail. You could call a lawyer. You could tell the truth. The truth in that hall belongs to people who own tarmac. And you don't? A flicker. Almost a smile. Gone. I own ships. They own the island's story tonight. Marriage is the only paper that moves faster than their story. She looked at the form again. Her name. His name. The wet ink. This is not love, she said. No.
If I sign, what am I? Alive at breakfast. She hated that it was a good sentence. Why me? She asked. You have never been introduced to me. You sat in the back. You watched them search me. You let them call Nam. I could not stop Nam in that foyer without starting a different kind of night. I can stop the plane. By marrying a stranger. He did not correct the word stranger. He also did not agree with it in any way she could use. Selah thought of Tigist. You come home if the work starts asking you to be someone else. She thought of the wire in the tin. She thought of A4, clean, and 200 people who had watched her pockets get turned out on marble. She thought of dying on tarmac she had never walked. If this is a trick, she said, I will make your life a tuning problem you cannot solve. Understood. Officer Nam returned with a stamp. He looked at the form, then at Yoon-ho, then at the floor. 4 o'clock is an unusual hour for joy, Nam said. It isn't joy, Selah said. She signed at 4:07 a.m. Not love, math. The stamp hit. The sound was smaller than it deserved. Nam took copies. Yoon-ho capped the pen at last. They did not hold hands. The sky over Jeju was still dark when the same van, now cleaner in its manners, took them back toward the water. Yoon-ho sat across from her, not beside her. He watched the window as if the night might try something. When we walk in, he said, you do not explain. Explanations are for people they still intend to believe. What do I do? You stand where a wife stands. You look at Hana. You do not look at the floor. I'm not a prop. No, you are a fact they cannot deport before breakfast. The house was still lit. Charity recitals do not end cleanly when the diamond is missing and the technician is gone. Guests lingered in clusters, drunk on rumor. The Steinway sat closed. The hired pianist was gone. Yoon-ho walked Selah through the marble foyer as his wife. The room died. Conversations fell off a cliff. A glass stopped halfway to a mouth. Hana, still in white, still bare at the throat, turned, as if someone had pulled a wire in her spine. Her face did the work faces do when the script changes without a rehearsal. Shock. Then calculation. Then a smile that was all edges. Yoon-ho, Hana said. You brought the thief home. I brought my wife home, he said. No speech. No raised voice. Economical, like everything else. Baek-hwan came through the seaward door with a drink in his hand. He saw them. He smiled wrong. Too much tooth. Too much timing. The smile of a man watching a piece move on a board he thought he owned. Nephew, Hana said. Immigration called. They said there was a development. I did not imagine this development. You rarely do, Yoon-ho said. Jae-min stood near the runner, helpful again, shoes still pale with marble dust. He bowed to Selah a fraction deeper than he had on the pier. Mrs. Baek. Selah's stomach turned at the name, and stayed turned. Selah is fine. Hana stepped close enough for perfume to arrive.
white flowers crushed into alcohol. A holding cell wedding. How romantic. How desperate. Father will want lawyers at breakfast. This will not stand. Yunho looked at Hana the way a person looks at weather. Breakfast is at 8. Bring whoever you like. He walked Selah past them. He did not touch her back. He did not take her elbow. The absence of touch was its own kind of announcement. The guest wing had 2 rooms with a connecting door. He opened the left one for her. Her toolkit was on the table. Returned. Tagged. The tin still inside. Someone had been through it and had not bothered to hide the fact. I sleep through there, Yunho said, nodding at the connecting door. It stays unlocked because fire codes, not because I have ideas. I do not have those ideas tonight. Selah stood with her arms folded. You didn't grope me in a cell. Don't congratulate yourself. I wasn't going to. Silence. The cliff wind found a gap in the windowsill and whistled a thin note, almost A4, almost a joke. What's your name? She said, then closed her eyes once, angry at her own mouth. I already signed it. Baek Yunho. You can use Yunho. The house will use more. Selah Bekele. I still use that. He nodded. Sleep. Tomorrow they will try to unwrite the paper. The paper is real. She did not move toward the bed. The scar. Yunho's hand did not go to it. Old. How old? 3 years. That's a precise kind of old. It is. He looked at her toolkit. Tagged. Returned. Violated. They went through your things. I had them brought back anyway. The tin is still there. I did not open it. I would have known if you had. I believe you. She glanced at the connecting door. White paint. Cheap latch. For a rich house. If someone comes through that door who is not you, I throw the stool. If someone comes through that door who is not me, throw it hard. He went through. He did not look back. The latch clicked softly. A sound she catalogued, because she catalogued all sounds. Selah sat on the edge of the bed. The room smelled of laundry soap and sea. Her wrist still wore the pale ring. She pressed her thumb to it until it hurt, then stopped. Because pain is proof, was a habit she refused to feed. She did not lie down for a long time. When she did, she slept in her clothes, one hand on the toolkit, as if the wire might crawl out and start the night over. She woke to coffee she had not made. Not the tray kind. Real coffee. The smell hit her the way Addis used to hit her. Then Silver Spring. Tigist's kitchen at 5 in the morning. The grind. The pour. The rule that you did not speak until the first cup had done its work. Selah sat up. The connecting door was still closed. The coffee was on the table in a French press that did not match the house's gold-rimmed everything. Beside it, a note in small handwriting. The kitchen had beans. I did not assume sugar. She poured. She drank it black. It was not Ethiopian. It was close enough to make her throat tighten. She was 9 when she left Addis Ababa. Her father had died in the church in the rainy season. Hands still on the organ. The chord unfinished. She was said it with his heart. Selah remembered the unfinished chord more than the funeral. Tigist came from Maryland and packed a child in a small bag of music books and a photograph of a man at an organ who had taught his daughter to hear a bad string before she could read a staff. Silver Spring was brick apartments in the basement church in a public school where her name got chewed up until she learned to say it slowly. Tigist worked 2 jobs and still stood at the stove. Strict love. Love that looked like packed lunches and no nonsense about boys and a used upright piano in the corner because Tigist said a house without a keyboard was a house that had given up. Selah did not want to perform. Performance asked you to be watched. She wanted the inside of the instrument, the place where honesty lived.
A teacher in high school had a friend who prepped pianos for a university. Selah started carrying tools. She learned to love felt and pin block, and the particular shame of a dirty action. She got certified. She got good. She got a reputation for being dry, which in her trade meant she did not flatter rich owners about instruments they had neglected. The Japanese Korean house hired her because a Hamburg D in Busan had been left too close to a window, and the local contractor had said it was fine, and it was not fine. She flew. She fixed it. They kept her. 14 months. Apartment near the port. Work that smelled of wood and machine oil. Sundays she called Tigist. Tigist asked if she was eating. Selah said yes. Sometimes it was true. 3 years before Jeju, before Busan even, there had been a Seoul hotel with a Steinway in a lobby that pretended to be a living room. Selah had been sent to do a night regulation after a banquet. The hotel was quiet. She finished near midnight. She was packing mutes when a man sat at the piano without asking if she was done. She almost told him to wait. Then he played. Not a concert, not a show. A line of melody that sounded like someone talking to a person who had already left the room. His hands were sure and a little tired. He did not look at her. She stood in the shadow of a column and listened until the last note went into the carpet. She never got his name. She remembered the way he voiced a chord in the middle register, a slight delay in the inner finger, a human thing. She had carried that delay for 3 years, the way other people carry a song they cannot place. She did not know, drinking coffee in Bake Cliff House, that the delay would come back. Breakfast was an invasion. Hana arrived at 8:01 with 2 lawyers, a father who looked like a ship given a human face, and a folder thick enough to hurt if thrown. The dining room faced the sea. White tablecloth, too many glasses, Baekwan at the head as if he had slept well. Jaemin pouring tea with both hands visible, a man performing innocence. Yunho sat with coffee, not tea. Selah sat to his right, because that was where the fact of her had been placed. She wore the same black work shirt. She had washed her face. Her bun was tighter. Hana did not sit immediately. She stood, and let the lawyers stand with her. "This marriage is a fraud," she said, in Korean first, then English for Selah's benefit, or for the record. It was executed under duress in a government cell to obstruct a criminal investigation. We will petition to void it. We will also proceed with theft charges. The diamond has been found. She set a small velvet box on the table, opened it. The stone, blue-white, thumbnail, old. "In the piano bench," Hana said, looking at Selah. "Where a thief would put what she could not swallow." Selah's voice came out flat. "I never sat on that bench." One lawyer almost smiled. "Convenient. Technicians don't sit on benches, they haven't checked for humidity," Selah said. "I checked that bench. I did not sit. There was nothing in it but wood and a dry hygrometer. If a diamond was in it at breakfast, someone put it there after I was zip-tied." Yunho did not look at Hana. He took a paper from his inner pocket and laid it beside the velvet box. Marriage registration. Stamps. 4:07 a.m. Nam's signature. Unhappy and real. "Void that," Yunho said. "Try." Hana's father spoke for the first time. His voice was harbor gravel. "Yunho, we had an understanding. My daughter. Your name. The Fleets. This African woman is a complication you can still undo." Selah turned her head slowly. "Ethiopian-American. Silver Spring. And I am sitting here, so you can aim the words at my face." Hana's father spoke for the first time. "Spirited. The guests will enjoy the story. If the story is allowed to remain a story." Jaemin cleared his throat. "I found the diamond. I went back to the hall at dawn, to secure the instrument. The bench lid was slightly open. I thought of humidity, as Ms. Bekele said. I looked. There it was." Selah looked at his shoes. Black leather. Thin soles. Pale dust. Not wood dust. Wood dust is yellow-brown. A fine powder that clings in the welt. This was white-gray. The grind of marble foyer stone. The same dust she had seen on the pier. The same dust that had clung to his knees when he gathered her felts. A bench lives on a wooden riser. A foyer lives on marble. "You found it," Selah said,
After walking through the foyer. Not after sitting with a bench. Your shoes don't have wood on them. Jae-min's smile held. I walked through the foyer to reach the hall. That's how halls work. You knelt in marble dust. You did not kneel in bench dust. If you opened that bench, your hands would have been in wood. Your shoes would have picked up the riser's grit. They picked up the foyer. The lawyers looked at the shoes before they could stop themselves. Hana saw them look. Her precision flickered. Yoon-ho's gaze dropped to Jae-min's feet, then rose, and something in the room's air changed by a degree. We'll discuss the stone later, Yoon-ho said. Eat, or don't. The registration stands this morning. Hana leaned in, cruel in the way that does not need a raised voice. You married a woman you were never introduced to. Do you even know what she is? A hired hand. A story the press will eat. My mother wore that diamond for 30 years. You let a stranger into the house and now you want us to call her family. I know what she is, Yoon-ho said. She is my wife on paper that Jeju already filed. The rest of your morning is optional. Hana left without eating. The lawyers followed. The father paused, looked at Hoon, and Hoon gave him that wrong smile. Small this time. Private. Selah ate, because Tigist had taught her that refusing food in an enemy's house was a luxury. The coffee helped. The silence did not. When the dining room emptied, she stood. I'm going to walk, she said. Yoon-ho. Stay inside of the house cameras. Yoon-ho. Stay inside of the house cameras. Yoon-ho. Stay inside of the house cameras. She followed pale dust in her mind, then on the floor, a faint track from the foyer toward a door staff used for chairs. Storage. The smell of old programs and lemon oil. Stacked chairs. A locked cabinet that was not locked well. Selah had grown up with Tigist's rule about locks. If a lock is a suggestion, treat it like a suggestion. Selah had grown up with Tigist's rule. Guest lists. A folder with her name already on it, which made her hands go cold before she opened it. 3 years old. A fiancé visa application. Her name. Selah had delegating. Addis Ababa. Silver Spring address that had been hers before Busan. A passport-style photo she recognized because she had taken it herself in a Ringgold, Georgia hotel bathroom during a technician's conference. Gray wall, hair in the same working bun, and she had posted it on a piano technician's forum when a Korean contractor asked for a face to match a resume. Someone had printed it. Someone had put it on a Korean form. Someone had written back Yoon-ho in the sponsor field. She stood in the storage smell with her pulse in her teeth. She took the folder.
Yoon-ho was in the hall with the closed Steinway, standing as if the instrument might start without him. Morning light made the scar look newer than it was. Selah set the folder on the music desk. You want to tell me why there is a 3-year-old fiancé visa in my name, in your uncle's storage, with a photo I posted on a forum, for people who regulate actions, not for people who collect wives. He looked at the photo. He did not pretend surprise. The Jeju job was not a coincidence, he said. I gathered. The visa, yes, that was me. Started, not filed to completion. The house that contracts you made it easy to know where you were. I needed you in this country, on paper, that could become other paper. Selah's laugh hurt. You tracked a piano technician. Yes. Because of a wire? You said the wire was live. You said I saved a life. You did not say the job was bait. The job was a Steinway that needed to be true for a piece that had to be played in this hall. You were the person I trusted with the instrument. You have never been introduced to me. He was quiet for a long time. Wind, glass, the generator under the floor. I have heard you work, he said. That is not the same. I am not going to dress it up. The wire, she said. Admit the wire. He looked at the closed lid. I will not admit the wire in a room with this many ears. That's not a no. It isn't a yes you can use. She picked up the folder. You put my face on a visa without my consent. I don't sell that. I know. Do you? I needed a legal shape that could move faster than Juan. 3 years is a long time to need a shape. 3 years. The number sat in her like a second pulse. She left him with the piano. She went to her room and washed her hands twice, as if ink from the folder might be on them. She called the piano house in Busan and told them she was delayed. She did not say married. She did not say sell. The manager on the other end said the bank account was important and please be flexible. She hung up and stared at her calluses. Selah watched Jae-min's shoes. Still marble. Still not wood. She went back to the hall when the house was thick with naptime money. She opened the Steinway because work was the only prayer she trusted. The action was still hers. A4 was still clean. She checked the capo bar. No new wire. She checked the bench again. Empty. A faint velvet fiber caught in a hinge, the color of the box Hana had slammed on the breakfast table. Recent. Stupid. Or meant to be found by someone who needed a story. Selah sat on her own stool and played a single note, then another, mapping. She was not performing. She was asking the instrument if it had been used. The connecting door stayed closed that night. She heard him on the other side, once. A glass set down. No footsteps to her latch. On the second morning, she found him in the kitchen himself, pressing coffee, sleeves rolled. The scar was a pale lightning bolt. He did not fill the silence with charm. Hana's father is leaving at noon, he said. He thinks he has leverage. He has a stone and a story. I have a registration and a shipping schedule he needs. And me. And you. If I walk to the pier and take a public ferry, do I die before the airport? He met her eyes. Today, yes. Tomorrow depends on who still wants the story of a thief. I want my name back. I want my brother back, he said, and then shut his mouth as if the sentence had escaped without a permit. Selah held still. You have a brother. Had. He poured coffee. He did not add more. She took the cup. I'm sorry. He nodded once. That was the whole ritual. Guests thinned. The charity banners came down. The island felt like a mouth after a feast. A little fouled. A little proud. Juan walked the glass corridor with a phone. And that smile. Speaking to people who said yes. Selah cornered Yunho in the service stair. Bare concrete. Her voice came back at her too fast, with no hall to hide in. The wire was yours, she said. He stopped on the landing. She went on, because if she stopped, she might be kind, and kindness would get her killed. You put a live conductor on A4. Someone in that room was supposed to die during the last piece. I pulled it because it ruined the instrument. You said I saved a life. You didn't say I saved the wrong one. Yunho's face did not break. It went stiller. Juan, she said. Your uncle. Acting chairman. The man who smiles late. You meant to kill him during the recital. I accidentally saved him. A long breath. Not denial. Yes, he said. The stairwell hummed. Selah sat down on the step because her knees had an opinion. You used a piano I was hired to make, true as a weapon. Yes. And then you married me so I wouldn't be flown into a grave for ruining your murder. Yes. The visa. 3 years. You weren't looking for a bride.
You were building a kill inside a Hamburg D, and you needed the one technician who... She stopped. The hotel lobby rose in her head without permission. Midnight. A tired voicing. A man she never named. You needed someone who hears. Yun-ho looked down at her. I needed the instrument perfect, so the last piece would be thin enough for A4 to carry. I needed a technician who would not leave a wolf in place out of fear. I did not expect you to pull the wire. Most people call security. Security in this house is friends. I am a tuner. I fix sound. I know. Selah rubbed her face. Coffee and salt and old adrenaline. Is when why your brother is had, not has? Yun-ho's jaw worked. Not here. Then where? You dragged me into a marriage. You owe me geography. The hall. Tonight. After the lawyers leave. I will not give Juan a scene he can film. She stood. She was close enough to see the scar was not decorative. A cut that had been meant to teach. If you try to finish what I interrupted, she said, you will do it without pretending I am your cover. I have not pretended you are cover. I have used paper. There is a difference you may not like. It is still a difference. She left him on the stairs. The afternoon was lawyers and shipping. Hana's father produced a bill of lading and a threat about a Jeju dock. Yun-ho produced a set of contracts that made the threat expensive. Selah sat in a chair by the window and listened to men trade oceans. She was a fact in the room. Hana watched her the way a person watches a stain that will not lift. Year 4. Jae-min asked Selah to confirm the instrument for insurance. She went with him because she wanted his shoes in better light. Hole. Closed lid. He opened the bench with 2 fingers, performing prayer. Empty, he said. As you said. Your souls are still a foyer. Selah said. You should have someone in this house who understands dust. It would save you lying. Jae-min's pleasantness thinned. You are very sure of small things. Small things are how pianos die, and how stories get planted. He smiled with only his mouth. Yun-ho likes you. That's new. He doesn't like people. He uses them. Which are you? Whoa. Jae-min said. And the word had 2 handles. That night the lawyers left on a boat with running lights. Hana did not go. She stayed in a guest suite like a queen. Hanan toasted nothing in the dining room and went to bed early, which in men like Juan meant he did not go to bed. You. Hana and Selah in the hall. Only the service lights. The Steinway's teeth faintly gold. He did not speechify. He stood with his hands empty. 3 years ago my older brother sat at a piano and played after midnight. He said. He was better than I will ever be. He was not made for the fleet. Huan was. Huan wanted the chair. Huan got at the limb and let him get things. Selah's skin went cold. Midnight. Hotel. She did not say the hotel. She waited.
I built a kill in this instrument because a bullet in this family is a story with witnesses. A heart that stops during a last piece is a tragedy with a program. You pulled the wire. You wrecked 3 years. You also kept me from becoming Juan in one night. I am not thanking you. I am telling you the math you signed. The marriage, she said, still unexplained. You could have hidden me. You could have put me on your own ship. My own ships are watched. A cell on Jeju is U ground. Marriage on U ground, stamped by Nam, is a fact that travels. Juan can kill a guest. Killing a bakewife on paper, he does not control yet, is a war he did not budget for this week. So I am a budget problem. You are alive. She walked to the piano. She did not play. She put her palm on the fallboard, where the transmitter had been. If you put another wire in this, I will pull it again. I will also leave, tarmac or no tarmac. I will take my chances with the sea before I tune a murder twice. Yun-ho looked at her hand. Understood. Almost peace lasted less than a day. By noon the next day, Yun-ho's people had a story of their own. A clerk in Hana's father's office. A receipt. The diamond had been removed from a safe in Busan 2 weeks earlier, signed out by a U secretary, transported to Jeju in a jewelry case that never went through the recital's official inventory. The theft had been scheduled. The bench had been a stage. They laid it out in the hall because the hall was where Hana had screamed, and Yunho, it turned out, understood theaters. Hana's father went gray. Hana went white, which was different. "You used my mother's stone as a prop," Yunho said. Still no speech. "Facts. You used my hall. You used immigration. You are leaving the island, today." Hana looked at Selah. The cruelty came back, because cruelty was her native language when losing. "He will get bored of you. Men like him do not keep what they pick up in cells." Selah said. "Walk to the boat, Hana. Your shoes are going to hate the stairs." Hana left. Her father left. The U-boat threw a wake that looked like torn silk. The house exhaled. Hana congratulated Yunho on handling the girl, and on keeping the technician, and Yunho did not answer, which made Hwana's smile go wrong again, smaller, watching. Evening. The glass wall held a red sea. Selah stood in the hall, because the Steinway still needed a last pass after 2 days of weather and drama. Yunho came and stood a few feet away, not touching. The almost of a kiss lived in the distance, like a third person. She could smell his coat, salt, coffee. She could see the scar up close, a ridge she could have mapped with a fingertip if she were a fool. "If I asked you to go back to Busan tomorrow," he said, "would you? If the tarmac is mine again, yes. If this marriage is a key I can put down, I will put it down. It isn't a key you can put down this week. Then don't stand as if you're about to make it something else." He almost smiled. Real. This time, brief. He leaned a fraction. She did not lean away. She also did not close the gap. Math still sat between their mouths. A speaker in the hall clicked. Neither of them had touched a panel. A piano filled the room. Not the Steinway in front of them. A recording. Lobby acoustics. Carpet. A mid-range voicing with a slight delay in the inner finger. Midnight. Seoul. The hotel. Selah's breath left her. She knew those hands. She had never seen the face clearly. She knew the tired surety. She knew the way the melody spoke to someone who had already left. She took a step toward the closed Steinway, as if the living instrument could explain the dead sound. The recording ran to the last note and into the carpet of another year. Then, a second click. Jamin's voice, "Live," from the seaward door. "There's another file," he said. He looked sorry, and did not look sorry. "Yunho, you should have let the wire stay. You should have let her take the plane." He thumbed a phone. Yunho's voice, recorded, low, economical, unmistakable. The placement of a conductor on A4, the last piece, the thin passage, the need for the technician to leave the hall before the finale, the confirmation that the transmitter would do what a gun in a charity row could not. The hall held the words after they ended. Selah looked at Yunho. He did not deny his own mouth. Hwan came in as if summoned by theater, that smile, full. He had waited for this arrangement of people. "Nephew," Hwan said. "A kill inside a piano. How artistic. How like your brother, and how unlike, because he would have simply played. Jamin has been very helpful. To me, to you, when it suited. Double work is expensive. I pay better." Jamin did not bow. Yunho's hands stayed empty. "You played the hotel tape." "I keep family history," Hwan said. "Seo Jin at the Seoul Hotel. 3 years ago. After midnight. He always did like empty rooms. He did not like how I ran the fleet. He was going to the prosecutors with numbers. He played first. He always played first. Then he walked out to the car I had arranged. You found what was left. You found a scar of your own later, trying to ask the wrong people the right questions. The name landed. Seo Jin.
Selah's ears filled with the delay in the inner finger. The hotel column. The man she had never been introduced to, either. Yunho's brother. The midnight player. Dead that night. Hwan had ordered it. Yunho had spent 3 years building a kill inside a piano. Selah had pulled the wire and wrecked the revenge. Jae-min had served both men. Hwan opened his hands. And still you married the tuner. Tell her why, Yunho, she asked in the cell. Nam's walls heard the question. I would like the answer. I have waited 3 years to hear you be stupid out loud. Selah's voice was steady, because if it shook she would fall. I remember him. I didn't know his name. I was regulating a banquet Steinway. He sat down before I finished packing. I listened. I have been listening for 3 years without a name. Yunho looked at her, as if the hall had dropped away. I know, he said. I found the hotel log. Night technician. Selah Bekele. I found the forum photo later. I found the way you wrote about a mid-range that had been voiced by someone who was tired, and still kind. You were the last living person who heard how my brother sounded when he thought no one important was in the room. I tracked you. I put a visa shape around your name. I put you in this house because the piece on that program was his transcription. Hwan wanted it played as a trophy. I wanted A4 to carry something else. Then you pulled the wire, and the U machine, and my uncle's machine, moved to erase you, and Nam's cell was the last room on the island that still took a stamp. I did not marry a stranger. I married the witness my brother didn't know he had. I used the cell because they were going to put you on a plane. You would not survive. The fluorescent memory of the holding room overlay the gold of the hall. Pen uncapped. Form. Her refusal. Him on the floor. Hwan clapped once, slowly. Touching. Now we have a recording of a murder plot, and a foreign wife, and a lieutenant who can sell either version. Yunho, you can still finish me. The cliff is right there. The piano is right there. Jae-min, which of us are you standing with in the next 5 minutes?
Jaemin looked at Selah's toolkit on the floor, at the Steinway, at Yunho, at Hwan. I stand with whoever leaves this island with the fleet, Jaemin said. That was always the job. Selah picked up her tuning hammer, not as a weapon, as a fact. If you kill him with the piano I tuned, I leave. I don't care about your tarmac. I will walk into the sea before I let this instrument be a gun twice. Your brother played. He did not use the strings to stop a heart. You do this with the piano. You are not avenging him. You are wearing him. Yunho's eyes were black in the low light. Yunho's eyes were black in the low light. Hwan waited, almost hungry for the old plan, because the old plan made Yunho simple. Yunho did not touch the Steinway. He took out a phone and called a name Selah did not know, a lawyer in Busan who answered on the first ring, and he spoke for less than a minute. Contracts, board, an emergency sitting, a freeze on acting chair powers. He named docks. He named ships. He named a paper trail Seo Jin had died for, still alive in servers Hwan had not burned, because Hwan believed fear was better than deletion. Then Yunho looked at Jae-min. You will walk Hwan to the morning boat. You will not touch him. If he falls, you fall after him. Public, legal, daylight. The fleet leaves him on the pier like a coat he cannot put back on. Hwan's smile finally died. You would strip me in front of sailors. Yes. I made this family. You killed the one person in it who could play, Yunho said. The rest is inventory. Selah left the connecting door open a hand's width that night. Not invitation. Air. She heard Yunho set a glass down once. She heard the cliff wind. She did not go through. Dawn came hard and clean. The pier smelled of diesel and wet rope. Crew stood in a line that was not quite a ceremony. Men from Busan held folders that flipped in the wind. Hwan wore yesterday's shirt. No late smile. A camera on a pole at the end of the dock had a red light that did not blink off. Yunho read the transfer of the fleet without looking at the paper as if he needed it. Dock numbers. Hull names. The acting chair frozen. Voting shares moved. A clause Soajin had written into an old operating agreement. Still valid. Still sharp. Sailors heard it. A bosun took off his cap without being asked. Someone spat into the water and did not apologize. Juan tried to speak. Yunho did not stop him. He let the attempt die in the wind. You will not hold a ship in this family again, Yunho said. You will not hold a hull. You will not hold a program with my brother's transcription printed on it like a trophy. You will take the morning boat. The lawyers will meet you on the other side with the kind of daylight you cannot shoot. Hana was already gone, but the island cameras were not, and cameras eat humiliation faster than they eat blood. Jaemin stood to one side, a man calculating his next employer. Selah watched his shoes, marble dust, pale as the foyer. He would carry it to the next house that polished stone to hide what happened on it. Selah watched his shoes. You pulled a wire and married a Bayak. Do you think that makes you a person in this country? Selah said, I think it makes me the technician who wouldn't leave a wolf in your trophy. Go get on the boat. He got on the boat. The engine coughed. The wake tore white. Nobody waved. The house was quieter than a house that size should be. Wind, glass, the generator. Selah went to the hull. She did not play the Steinway. She opened it. She checked the capo. She ran the action. She listened to A4 until it was a single honest voice. She tuned what the night had knocked loose. She stretched the octaves to the room as it really was. Salt and all, not as a charity program had pretended it was. Yunho sat in the back row, aisle, coat off for once. He did not play either. When she closed the fallboard, the click was clean. He said, the paper still stands. You can hate that and still drink the coffee. She said, I don't have a safe word for what this is becoming. Don't invent one. If you ever put a conductor in an instrument I have made true, I will not sign anything again. I will not even argue. I will be gone. I won't. She packed her mutes. Her fingertips were dusted with felt. Calluses. Work. Yunho. Yes. I still hear him. In the hotel. In this hall, when the tape played. If you want me to remain after non-stamp dries, you live with that. You do not ask me to forget a player so you can be the only Bakek in the room. He sat with that. He nodded. The scar caught the morning. They stayed like that. A woman who tunes, and a man who had chosen daylight over a wire. In a hall that had been built for a recital, and used for a trial. With a Hamburg Steinway between them that was, finally, only a piano. If you knew the minute she should have walked, put that minute in the comments. Was it the foyer, when they dumped her toolkit on marble in front of 200 people? Was it the uncapped pen in Mom's cell, when a man she had never been introduced to told her the tarmac was already owned? Was it the folder in storage, with her forum photo already printed on a fiancé form? The stairwell, when he admitted the wire was his. The second recording, when Jaemin played Yunho's own mouth into the hall. Write the minute, then subscribe for the next story.